Hello, everyone. Let's get settled in, grab your coffee. What I'm about to tell you, it's a lot. You think you know your family. You think you've raised them right, but you never, ever think the ones you love the most will be the ones to stick the knife in. The phone rings at 3 in the morning, and it's never good news. My heart nearly beat out of my chest before I even had the receiver to my ear. It was my grandson, Kyle. My only grandson. He was crying. No, he was sobbing, hysterical. "Grandma," he choked out. "Oh God, Grandma, I messed up. I messed up bad." My blood went cold. "I'm in jail," he cried. "I was at a party, I had a drink, I crashed the car. They said I hurt someone. They're going to charge me. I need bail money, Grandma. They said it's $15,000. Please, they're going to put me in with real criminals." My heart just stopped. To get that money at 3 in the morning, I knew exactly what I had to do. I sold my late husband Frank's wedding ring and the diamond necklace he gave me for our 20th anniversary. I sent it. 2 days later, I found out he was never in jail. He was posting pictures from a party on a yacht in Miami. And the worst part, my daughter, his mother, knew the whole time. If you're ready for this journey, be sure to hit the subscribe button and like this post so you don't miss any updates. And let me know in the comments what city you're watching from. It's always nice to see where everyone is. All right, so where to begin? The call itself. When that phone rang, it scared the living daylights out of me. I've been a widow for 5 years, and the house is quiet. Too quiet. Frank was the one who always snored, always had the television on too loud. The silence since he's been gone is a heavy blanket. So a 3 a.m. phone call, it's every mother's, every grandmother's worst nightmare. "Kyle, baby, slow down. What's wrong?" I'm in Orlando," he sobbed. He's 22, a senior in college. Or supposed to be. "I came down with friends for the weekend. I shouldn't have been driving. Grandma, there was another car. A woman. They took her in an ambulance. They said it's my fault. My fault. I'm going to jail for years." My mind was spinning. My daughter, Sharon, and her husband, Rick, they live in Chicago. I'm in Ohio. Orlando, Florida. He was so far away. "Where's your mother? Did you call your mother?" I asked, already pulling my robe on, my hand shaking. "I can't," he wailed. And this part sounded so real. "She'll kill me. Dad will kill me. You know how he is about the car. Grandma, please, you're the only one I can trust. The public defender said if I can get the bail by morning, they'll release me to a bondsman. If not, I go to county jail until a hearing, and he said it's bad in there. Really bad." $15,000? Good Lord, that's not cookie jar money. That's real money. I'm comfortable. Frank left me provided for, but I'm not rich. I live on his pension and my Social Security. That kind of cash isn't just sitting in a checking account. I don't have that kind of money, just, please, Grandma, he begged, his voice dropping to a desperate whisper. "I'll pay you back. I'll get a job. I'll do anything. I'm so scared. I just want to come home." And that was it. I just want to come home. He got me. Hook, line, and sinker. "Okay, baby, okay," I said, my own voice trembling. "You sit tight. Don't talk to anyone. Grandma will handle it. Give me the number for the bondsman." He rattled off a number and a case number and an account for a wire transfer. He was crying, telling me he loved me, that I was saving his life. I hung up the phone and my heart felt like a bird trapped in my ribs. I went to the safe in Frank's old study, the one behind the painting of the ducks. I hadn't opened it probably a year. The code was our anniversary. The smell of cedar and old papers hit me, and there they were, the velvet boxes. Frank's ring wasn't fancy. It was a 10-karat gold band, heavy, with little scratches all over it from 45 years of work and life. He was a carpenter, a master craftsman. His hands were strong and calloused, and that ring was as much a part of him as his knuckles. The necklace was different. For our 20th anniversary, he'd saved for 2 years. He took me to a real jeweler, not a mall store. It was a simple platinum chain with 5 small, perfect diamonds. 5 diamonds for our 5 decades, he'd said. Even though we'd only been married for 2, he said, I'm planning ahead. I never, ever took it off until he got sick. It felt wrong to wear something so lovely in a chemo ward, so I put it in the safe. I grabbed them both. I didn't sleep. I sat in Frank's old recliner, clutching those boxes until 8:45 a.m. I felt like a traitor. I know a man, Mr. Harrison, who runs a reputable jewelry and coin shop downtown. He's not a pawnbroker, he's an appraiser. I've known him for 30 years. I was at his door when he unlocked it. "Evelyn," he said, surprised. "Goodness, are you all right? You look like you've seen a ghost." "I need to sell these, Arthur," I said, my voice flat. I couldn't bear to cry in front of him. I opened the boxes. He whistled, low. He knew Frank. He knew the ring. He looked at the necklace with his little eyepiece. He was quiet for a long time. "Evelyn, the stones on this necklace alone are worth, well, at retail, maybe $30,000. The ring, the gold weight, this is your history, my dear. I need $15,000 today, now." He looked at me, really looked, with those sad, kind eyes. "Family trouble?" I just nodded. I couldn't speak. "This is not a pawn," he said gently. "If you sell this, it's gone. For melt and stones, I can give you $18,000. And that's me being a friend, Evelyn. This is worth so much more. Are you sure?" I took the check. "I'm sure, Arthur. Thank you." I walked out of that shop feeling hollowed out, like someone had reached inside me and scooped out everything that mattered. I went to the bank, deposited the check, and wired $15,000 to the account number in Florida. The teller, a nice young woman, looked at the amount. "Big vacation?" She smiled. "Bail money," I said. Her smile vanished. I went home, and I waited. I called my daughter, Sharon, Kyle's mother. "Oh, hi, Mom," she said. Her voice was breezy, too breezy. "What's up?" "Sharon, honey, I just wanted you to know Kyle's in some trouble in Orlando, but it's all handled. I took care of it. He should be released this afternoon." There was a pause. Not "oh my God, my son is in jail" pause. It was a thinking pause. Oh, good. That's great, Mom. I knew he was worried about something. You're a lifesaver. We were just so busy with Rick's project. You didn't know he was in jail? I asked. No. Goodness, he wouldn't tell us that. He knows how his father would react. Well, I'm just glad you handled it. You're the best, Mom. It felt wrong. All of it. But I told myself I was just rattled. My grandson was safe. That's what mattered. That relief, that hollowed-out feeling, lasted for exactly 24 hours. The next day, I didn't hear from Kyle. I called his cell. Voicemail. I called Sharon. "Oh, he's probably just exhausted, Mom, and embarrassed. He'll call when he's ready." Her voice was still so bright. It was starting to grate on me, like a fork scraping a plate. And just when I thought the nightmare was over, it was really just beginning. Stay with me, because you'll want to hear this. The next day, still nothing. I was getting that itch, that little nagging feeling in the back of my mind that mothers get when something is not just wrong, but off. You know the one.
It's the feeling you get when your kid is too quiet. I'm not a computer whiz. I call my smart TV the big computer, and I'm pretty sure the cloud is just a fancy word for someone else's basement. But I have a Facebook account. My neighbor's granddaughter Lucy set it up for me so I can see pictures of her baby. I was just fidgeting, worried, and I opened it. I don't post. I just look. I'm friends with Kyle, though he never posts anything I can see. But I am friends with his mother, and she's friends with his friends. I don't know why I did it. I just clicked on Sharon's friend list and saw one of Kyle's buddies, a boy named Chad, who I've seen at their house. His profile was wide open, public, and the first picture I saw made my blood turn to ice water. It was a group of boys on a boat, a big, white, fancy boat. The water was bright blue. They were all grinning, holding up red plastic cups. And right in the middle, with his arm around some girl in a tiny bikini, was Kyle. He was wearing sunglasses and a stupid, expensive-looking shirt.
I looked at the caption. It said, Miami Day 3, Spring Break Forever. I grabbed my reading glasses. My hand was shaking so hard I could barely get them on. I looked at the date on the post. It was from yesterday. The exact same day I was at Arthur's shop, selling my husband's ring. The exact time I was at the bank wiring $15,000 to a bail bondsman. I couldn't breathe. No, I whispered. It's a mistake. It's an old picture. But it wasn't. I clicked on Kyle's own page. I guess he'd unblocked me. Or maybe I was never blocked. And there it was. Not just pictures. Stories. That's what Lucy calls them. Little videos. A video of them in a nightclub. Neon lights flashing. A video of a table loaded with food and fancy-looking drinks. A video of him on a jet ski yelling "woo" at the camera. All of them. All from the last 72 hours. He wasn't in an Orlando jail cell. He was in a Miami cabana. I think I sat there for an hour, just staring. The room got dark. I didn't turn on the lights. The house was silent again. But this time, it wasn't a peaceful silence. It was the silence of a tomb. The betrayal was so sudden, so complete, it was like a physical blow. It knocked the wind right out of me. My blood went cold. I mean, ice water in my veins. It wasn't a mistake. It wasn't an old photo. It was real. He wasn't in a cell. He was in a cabana. And that $15,000, it wasn't for bail. It was for boats. It was for booze. It was for bikinis. I know this is hard to believe, but it's the God's honest truth. The betrayal was one thing, but the depth of it, that was what was about to come out, and it would be glorious. But before I could even process Kyle, my mind snagged on something else. That thinking pause from Sharon, her breezy, cheerful voice. Oh, he was worried about something. You're a lifesaver, Mom. We've just been so busy. She knew. The thought hit me with the force of a physical slap. She knew. She knew he wasn't in jail. She knew he was in Miami. She knew he was conning me. I didn't scream. I didn't throw anything. Not yet. I was a bookkeeper for a small construction firm for 40 years. I dealt with liars and cheats trying to pad their invoices every single day. I know how to be calm when I'm furious. I just picked up the phone. My hand was perfectly steady now. I called Sharon. She picked up on the second ring, cheerful as ever. Hi, Mom. What's up? Did Kyle call you? No, Sharon, he didn't. But I saw his pictures. He seems to be having a wonderful time in Miami.
The silence on the other end of the line was so loud it was deafening. It stretched for 5, 10, 15 seconds. Then the sputtering. What? Miami? Mom, what are you talking about? He's in Orlando. He's driving home. You're confused, Mom. I am not confused. Sharon, I am looking at a picture of my grandson on a boat. It was posted yesterday, while I was at the jewelry store. More silence. Then her tone changed. The fake cheer was gone, replaced with that snippy, annoyed sound she gets when she's been caught. Mom, you know how kids are. They post old pictures all the time. You're making a big deal out of nothing. He's fine. You got the money back, didn't you? Got the money back? What are you talking about? The bail money. He got it back when he was released, obviously. He's probably going to give it to you when he gets home. You're just getting yourself worked up. You've been lonely since Dad died. I sold your father's wedding ring, Sharon. And the diamond necklace he gave me, the one he saved 2 years for, I sold them to get the $15,000 for bail. Oh, Mom! She sighed, and the annoyance in her voice was staggering. Why would you do that? You shouldn't have done that. That was stupid. You have savings. It was 3 a.m. I needed cash. It wasn't savings. It was for bail. And then she snapped. The mask didn't just slip. She ripped it off and threw it on the ground. Fine. Yes, he's in Miami, okay? He's with his friends. He deserved a break. He's been so stressed with school and his car's been making that noise and we just couldn't afford to send him. He's a good boy. He deserved it. I was speechless. I couldn't form a single word. And the jail story? The crash? The woman in the ambulance? And this is the part I will never, ever forget. She laughed. A short, sharp, angry laugh. Oh, Mom, for God's sake, don't be so dramatic. Of course that wasn't real. It was just a story. Rick and I knew. We helped him come up with it. We just figured, what's the big deal? You get your pension and Frank's benefits anyway. It's not like you use that jewelry. It was just sitting in a safe. You're like our little ATM. You punch in a story and the money comes out. It all worked out. Kyle got his trip, and you're fine. An ATM.
That's what I am to you? I said. My voice wasn't even my own. An ATM? Well, yeah, she said, like it was the most obvious thing in the world. I mean, what else are you going to do with all that money? You can't take it with you. Look, I have to go. Rick's home for dinner. We'll see you at Easter. She hung up. I sat in the dark. The phone was still in my hand. An ATM, a machine, not a mother, not a grandmother, just a box you get money from. They had planned it. My daughter, my son-in-law, my grandson, they sat around a dinner table probably and scripted a story to steal from me, to steal my husband's memory. That night I did cry. I cried for Frank. I cried for the daughter I thought I had. I cried for the loss of my family. But by morning, the tears were gone. And what was left? Well, it wasn't sadness. It was steel. They thought I was a frail, confused old woman. They thought I was an ATM. They were about to find out this ATM was closed for business permanently. And it was about to charge one hell of an overdraft fee. So, I sat in the dark. I don't know for how long. The sun went down. The moon came up. I didn't move. I just processed. ATM. You can't take it with you. We helped him come up with it. My family. My only child. My only grandchild. The first thing I felt was shame. I was so embarrassed. How could I have been so stupid? How could I have been so blind? This wasn't a sudden thing. This wasn't a one-time bad choice. This was practiced. Sharon's breezy voice, Kyle's perfect hysterical sobs, they'd rehearsed this. They'd planned it. And they'd done it, all for a spring break trip. Or so they said. But as I sat there, the shame started to burn off. And underneath it, it wasn't sadness. Not yet. The sadness would come later, I knew. No, what was underneath was a cold, hard, familiar feeling. It was the feeling I used to get at the first of the month at the construction firm, when one of the subcontractors would hand me an invoice with $10,000 worth of miscellaneous materials. I call it my auditor's itch. It was pure, unadulterated, ice-cold fury. I didn't get up. I just sat in Frank's chair. And I thought. I thought about every emergency for the last 5 years. Kyle's lost laptop for school, $2,000. Sharon's leaking roof that the insurance wouldn't cover, $5,000. Rick's can't-miss investment opportunity that just needed a little bridge loan, $10,000. The dental surgery for Kyle that wasn't covered by their plan, $3,000. The property tax they forgot to pay, $4,000. One after another, I lined them up in my head like numbers on a ledger. And for the first time, I didn't see them as a loving grandmother helping her family. I saw them for what they were. Withdrawals. I was an ATM. Sharon was right. But the thing about an ATM is, it keeps a record. It keeps a perfect, detailed record of every single transaction. Finally, I stood up. It was almost midnight. I hadn't eaten. I didn't care. I went into Frank's study. His filing cabinets are still there. I'm a woman of my generation. I don't trust the cloud. I have paper. I have bank statements going back 10 years. I have check registers. I have every "thank you so much, Mom, you're a lifesaver" email. I turned on the desk lamp. I pulled out a legal pad and a pen, and I started my audit. I worked all through the night. I drank so much coffee my hands were shaking, but this time it wasn't from fear. By 6 a.m., the sun was coming up, and my legal pad was full. 3 pages, single-spaced. Line items, dates, amounts, reasons. The grand total, over just the last 5 years since Frank died, was $87,450. $87,000. I just stared at the number. $87,450. On top of the $15,000 for the bail. Over $100,000. Stolen. Because that's what it was. It wasn't gifts. It wasn't help. It was a long, slow, calculated theft. I looked at that number and I thought about Frank's wedding ring. I thought about my necklace. I thought about the 45 years he worked, his hands cracked and bleeding some days, to build this life for us. The life my daughter was currently pissing away in a Miami nightclub. I was done crying. I was done being sad. I was done being a victim. They thought I was a silly old woman, too busy with my knitting and my memories to notice the details. But I was a bookkeeper for 40 years, honey. And I kept all the receipts. Stay with me, because the audit I was about to do on their lives was going to be a masterpiece.
I made a phone call at 8:01 a.m. Henderson Price and Associates, how may I help you? I need to speak with Mr. Henderson. It's Evelyn Miller, Frank Miller's wife. Of course, Mrs. Miller. He's with a client. Can I tell him it's an emergency? I said, my voice like stone. Tell him I need to update my will. Immediately. Mr. Henderson saw me at 10 a.m. He's in his 70s, wears a bow tie, and has the sharpest eyes I've ever seen. He was Frank's friend. He handled the estate. He's old school. Evelyn, he said, taking my coat. He looked concerned. You sounded firm. Is everything all right? Are you all right? No, Jim, I'm not, I said. I sat down in the big leather chair opposite his desk. I'm not all right at all. What's happened? I'd like to change my will, I said. This morning, if possible. Well, of course, he said, folding his hands. Changes are simple. What are we adjusting? I am currently leaving 100% of my estate, the house, the savings, the portfolio, everything, to my daughter Sharon. Yes, a standard matriarchal line, he nodded. I want to change it, I said. I looked him right in his sharp eyes. I want to leave her $1. Mr. Henderson did not blink. He simply leaned back in his chair. $1. The classic. That's a significant change, Evelyn. May I ask what brought this on? So I told him. I didn't cry. I didn't raise my voice. I just read from my ledger. I told him about the 3 a.m. phone call, the sobbing, the bail. I told him about Frank's ring and my necklace. I told him about the Miami pictures. And then I told him the total, the $87,450, and I told him the word. She called me an ATM. For a full minute, Mr. Henderson said nothing. He just stared at his folded hands. Then he looked up. His eyes were not friendly anymore. They were the eyes of a shark. He said, "Evelyn," his voice low, "this is not a simple family dispute. This is elder fraud. This is financial abuse. The $15,000 scam, that's criminal. The previous amounts, that's a pattern of manipulation. I don't want to send my daughter to jail." "I understand," he said, "but we have significant leverage." "Good," I said, "because I don't just want to change my will. What do you want, Evelyn?" "I want my husband's ring back. I want my necklace back, or the value, all of it. The $18,000 I got was just scrap value. Arthur told me the necklace alone was worth over $30,000. I want it back. And I want the $87,450. Mr. Henderson raised an eyebrow. "You're not gifting it anymore." "It was never a gift, Jim. It was a theft. They just disguised it as love." "All right," he said. He pulled a notepad closer. "Changing the will is step 1. We'll draft a new one. Who gets it? The animal shelter? The local trade school, the carpentry program. Frank would have liked that. An endowment, in his name." "Beautiful," he nodded. "And writing. Now, as for the rest, getting money back from them, they don't sound like people who have it." "That's just it, Jim, they don't." "But they're spending it. Why did they need $15,000? Not for a spring break trip." "That was just the excuse. Sharon said. She said her husband, Rick, was busy with a project. He's a consultant." Mr. Henderson smiled. It was not a nice smile. Consultant. The last refuge of the gainfully unemployed. "Let me make a phone call. I have a man, a real consultant. He finds things. Public records, LLCs, bankruptcies, liens. Let's find out what project our Mr. Rick is so busy with." He made the call. While he was on the phone, talking in low, coded words, I had another thought. It was a horrible, sinking feeling. "Jim," I interrupted as soon as he hung up. "There's something else." "What is it?" "About a year ago, Sharon came over. She said she wanted to help me with my online banking, to protect me from scammers. She said my passwords weren't strong enough. She sat right here on my computer and helped me change them to something we could both remember. I think I've been a fool." Jim's face went pale. "Evelyn, you need to go to your bank, not call, go. Now. Take a cab, freeze every account. Change
every password, get a statement of all activity for the last 2 years. My heart was in my throat. I had just trusted her. Go, he said. Now. I'll have the report from my investigator by the time you get back.
I've never been so terrified in my life. I went to the bank, the same bank where I'd wired the money. The same nice teller was there. Her name was Maria. Mrs. Miller? Back so soon? I hope everything worked out with that situation. Maria, I said, I need to speak to the branch manager right now. It's fraud. Her smile didn't just fade, it shattered. They took me into a glass office. The manager, Mr. Davies, was a kind man. I was shaking now. I couldn't stop. I think my daughter has been stealing from me. I told him the story. He typed and he typed. Mrs. Miller, he said, his face grim. Your checking account, your savings account, they are both linked to an external account, R&S Enterprises. Do you know what that is? Rick and Sharon, I whispered. There are automatic weekly transfers, $250, from your checking for the last 18 months. I did the math in my head. $250 a week for 18 months. That's $19,500. And Mrs. Miller, the $15,000 wire, it didn't go to a bail bondsman in Orlando. I know, it went to Miami? No, ma'am, he said, turning the screen to me. It was wired from Florida, but it was wired to a casino in Atlantic City, a marker. My head was spinning. A casino? And there's more, he said, and his voice was so gentle. There's a line of credit, a home equity line of credit taken out against your house. What? I never did that. It was opened 6 months ago. The signature was electronic. $50,000. It's been drawn against, in full. Who? The funds were transferred to the same LLC, R&S Enterprises. I couldn't stand. I sank into the chair. $50,000. $19,500. $15,000. $87,450. They hadn't just stolen $100,000. They had stolen everything. They had stolen my house. It wasn't just a con. It was a conspiracy. My own daughter. My own grandson. They weren't just stealing my money. They were stealing my life. Piece by piece. They were going to get exactly what they deserved, and I was going to have a front row seat. You'll want to stay for this part. Mr. Davies was on the phone with the fraud department. He was freezing everything. He was flagging the accounts. You have to file a police report, Mrs. Miller, he said. This is a felony. Several felonies. I will, I said, my voice hollow. But first I have to go back to my lawyer. I walked out of that bank. I don't even remember the walk back. When I got to Jim's office, he had a file on his desk. He looked at my face and said, "Bad?" "It's all gone, Jim," I whispered. They took out a $50,000 line of credit on my house. My signature. It's all gone. Jim's face turned to thunder. He opened a file. Well, I know where it's gone. He turned a paper around. It was a public filing. Rick and Sharon's project. They're partners in a new nightclub in Atlantic City, and it's failing miserably. It's hemorrhaging money. They have tax liens. They have creditors suing them. They're upside down, Evelyn. They're desperate. So the $15,000 wasn't for a trip, Jim said. It was to pay a casino marker, probably to keep his legs from being broken. The $50,000 from your house? That's what they used as their buy-in, and they've lost it all. I sat there.
My house, Frank's house, the house my daughter grew up in. They'd mortgaged it to buy into a nightclub. So, I said, and my voice was finally steady. The shock was over. They're desperate. To the tune of, well, with your money, they're probably still $500,000 in the hole. Good, I said. Desperate people make mistakes. Desperate people are easy to push. Jim looked at me. Evelyn, what are you thinking? I'm thinking, I said, standing up. They called me an ATM. Well, this ATM is making a call. I'm filing a police report for the forged signature, for the $50,000, and I'm filing a civil suit for every other penny. I'm not just cutting them out of my will, I'm taking them to court. That will be a war, Evelyn. I know, I said, pulling on my coat. And I'm the one with all the ammunition. They wanted my money? Fine, they'll get it, in a subpoena. Walking out of Jim's office, I felt changed. The air was colder, the sun was brighter. It was like I'd been looking at the world through a fuzzy, warm blanket for 5 years and someone had just ripped it off. I wasn't that cozy, comfortable, oh, she's so sweet, Evelyn anymore. I was a woman who just had $171,950 stolen. And good heavens, I was furious.
My first stop, as promised, was the police station. This wasn't a place I was familiar with. It smelled like stale coffee and floor wax. I sat on a hard plastic chair, my purse in my lap, feeling like a visitor from another planet. When they called my name, I was led to a small cubicle. A detective, a man with a tired face and a kind, weary-looking mustache, sat down. His nameplate said, Detective Murphy. Ma'am, you're here to report fraud? He looked at his notepad. He looked at me. I could see the thought in his head. Oh, joy. Another nice old lady who gave her Medicare number to a telemarketer. Yes, detective, I said, and I opened my file. I am a bookkeeper. I came prepared. I am here to report a forgery. Specifically, a $50,000 home equity line of credit taken out against my property, without my knowledge. His eyebrows went up. Okay, that's not a telemarketer. Who had access to your... And, I continued, I have bank records, provided by my bank manager, Mr. Davies, showing the electronic signature that was used and the account that the $50,000 was transferred to, an LLC called R&S Enterprises. And I am here to state, for the record, that the owners of that LLC are my daughter, Sharon, and my son-in-law, Rick. Detective Murphy put his pen down. The confused old lady look was gone. He just looked at me. Ma'am, you're accusing your own daughter of forging a mortgage on your home? I am not accusing, detective, I said, sliding the bank's fraud affidavit across the desk. I am reporting. I'm the one who balanced the books for Miller Construction for 40 years. I know a forged document when I see one, and I never, ever signed that. He was quiet for a long time. He read the papers, he read my ledger, he read my bank statements. He saw the automatic $250 weekly withdrawals to the same LLC. He saw the $15,000 wire to the casino in Atlantic City. He saw the whole ugly, greedy picture. Mrs. Miller, he said finally, and his voice was low. This is a hell of a thing. Yes, it is, and I want them stopped. This is the step, ma'am, you understand? Once I make this call, it's out of your hands. I'll be subpoenaing their bank records, the LLC's records, the casinos. It's a felony investigation. It's jail time.
I looked at a picture of Frank I keep in my wallet. I'd taken it out and was holding it in my lap. I thought of his ring sitting in Arthur's shop. I thought of them laughing. ATM. I understand, I said. Thank you for your time, detective. I walked out of that police station and took my first deep breath. The first shot was fired. My next stop was the hardware store. I bought 3 new deadbolts, the best ones. I called a locksmith and had him meet me at my house. By 4 p.m., every lock was new. The code to the garage door opener was changed. I had the man install a video doorbell, a ring. That's it. Then I sat in my kitchen, at the table where I'd fed Sharon her first bites of applesauce, and I waited. It took 2 days, 2 glorious, silent, terrifying days. I spent the time cleaning. I scrubbed my house from top to bottom. I packed up all of Sharon's old things from the guest room, her high school yearbooks, her cheerleading trophy. I put them in boxes and put them in the attic. Out of sight, an audit. Then, on Thursday at 10:02 a.m., the phone rang. It was Sharon. Her voice was tight, annoyed. Mom, what's wrong with your bank? Not, hi, Mom, not, how are you? Just, what's wrong? I'm not sure what you mean, Sharon, I said. I was practicing my needlepoint. In, out. I was at the grocery store, and my card, it was declined. Rick's card, too. He said the weekly transfer didn't go through. It's messing up our whole budget. Did you forget to move your money? Oh, that was rich. No, Sharon, I didn't forget. I'm actually having all my accounts audited. It seems there's been a significant amount of fraud. I had to freeze everything. Silence. The thinking pause. But this time, it was a panicked thinking pause. Fraud? What are you talking about? Who? That's terrible. Did you call the police? Oh, yes, I did. A very nice Detective Murphy. He's looking into it. He seems to think it's quite serious. He's subpoenaing records. Subpoenaing? Mom, what did you do? You can't just... Look, I don't have time for this. Rick has a big payment due for the project. He's counting on that money. You need to call the bank right now and unfreeze it. This is a mess.
I'm afraid I can't do that, I said, my voice as calm as a summer lake. The bank has frozen the accounts pending the criminal investigation, and my lawyer has frozen them pending a civil suit. Lawyer? Lawyer? She was yelling now. The mask was gone. This was the real Sharon. What are you talking about? What lawyer? What did you tell them? I told them the truth, I said. I showed them my ledger. The $171,950. The $50,000 forged loan. Forged? How dare you? You told me you wanted to help. You offered. You're just a spiteful, senile old woman. You're trying to ruin us after everything we've done for you. Click. I hung up the phone. I sat there. My heart was pounding, but I was also smiling, just a little. That click, it was the sound of a door locking, a bank vault slamming shut. She thought she was just annoyed. She had no idea. I had all the statements. I had the police report. The house was locked, and my lawyer, he was loading the cannon. And I promise you, you'll want to be here when it fires. The cannon fired 24 hours later. Jim, my lawyer, had been busy. He'd hired a process server, not just any process server, but a bulldog of a man who, I was told, loved a challenge. They weren't in Chicago. Oh no. They were in Atlantic City, at the failing nightclub, the Gilded Lily, it was called. How tacky. They were served,
at 11 p.m. on a Friday night, right in the middle of their busy time. Served with the civil complaint, a summons, and a notice of lis pendens, which is a fancy legal word for I'm putting a lien on this, a lien on the nightclub, a lien on their Chicago condo, a lien on their R&S Enterprises bank accounts. I didn't get a call from Sharon. Oh no, she was probably too busy screaming. I got a call from Rick. I was just getting ready for bed. The phone rang, and I didn't even recognize the number. I picked it up. Hello? It wasn't a voice. It was a roar. You old... I can't repeat the words he used, not in polite company. It was colorful. What the hell did you do? I held the phone away from my ear. Hello, Rick, I said calmly. It seems you've received my correspondence. Correspondence? Correspondence? You sued us. You've destroyed us. A process server? In my club? In front of my investors? You're trying to ruin me. Ruin, I said, is such a final word. I'm a bookkeeper, Rick. I'm just reconciling the books. You and Sharon have been making unapproved withdrawals for 5 years. I'm just collecting on the debt, with interest. Debt? That was a gift. That was family. You're a senile old... We took care of you. You forged my signature, Rick? And my voice was ice. The roaring stopped. Dead silence. The, oh my God, I'm going to jail silence. That was Sharon's. That was a misunderstanding. I don't think so. And neither does Detective Murphy. He's very interested in the $50,000 you took from my house and the $15,000 you sent to the casino. That's called wire fraud. It's a federal crime. You can't, he was sputtering. I can, I said. You thought I was an ATM. You forgot the ATM is connected to a bank, and the bank always wins. I hung up the phone. I have to tell you, my hand wasn't shaking, not even a little. He thought he was dealing with a frail old woman he could bully. He forgot I'm the one who balanced the books on his father-in-law's construction company for 40 years. I've stared down union bosses and crooked inspectors. He was nothing, and he was about to learn that the hard way. I thought that would be the end of it for the night. I thought I could sleep. But the trifecta, the holy trinity of betrayal, it wasn't complete. At 2 a.m., the phone rang again. This time, my heart did ache. The caller ID said, Kyle.
This was the one. This was the one that could break me. I picked it up. Hello, Kyle. He was crying. But this time, God help me, it sounded real. Grandma, what's going on? My card... I'm at the airport in Miami. I was trying to fly home. My card is declined. My bank account, it says it's frozen. He sounded small and scared. Hello, Kyle, I said again, my voice softer. Grandma, please, I don't know what's happening. She's screaming at Dad. She said you're suing us? I'm stuck, Grandma. I don't have any money. I can't get home. Please, Grandma, help me. Help you, I said. Like I helped you in Orlando? A sharp intake of breath. He was silent. Kyle, I said, do you remember that phone call? The one at 3 a.m., where you were crying, telling me you were in jail, that you'd hurt someone? Grandma, I'm so sorry. Dad and Mom, they said it was the only way. They said... Did you know that to bail you out, I sold your grandfather's wedding ring? A sob. A real one. What? No, I didn't know that. I swear. They just said you'd pay for the trip.
that it was no big deal that you owed us. Owed you, I repeated. The word was like acid. Because I'm just an ATM, right? No, Grandma, no, I never, I love you. Love, I said. That's a nice word. It's not what you've been showing. You're 22 years old, Kyle. You're an adult. You participated in a conspiracy to steal from your own grandmother. The jail story? That's wire fraud. You're not just in a civil suit, honey. You're a co-conspirator in a criminal one. Criminal? She shrieked. No, Grandma, please, you can't. I'll pay you back. I'll get a job. Yes, you will. You told me you'd get a job to pay me back from jail. Well, here's your chance. You're stuck in Miami? You're an adult. Figure it out. Call your parents. Oh, wait. I have a lien on all their money. I guess you'll just have to solve your own problems from now on. Grandma, please, don't hang up. I'm stuck. I have nowhere to go. You should have thought about that before you cached my husband's memory. Click. I turned off the ringer on my phone. I sat in Frank's chair. The house was silent. The war had begun. The enemy was, well, they were routed. They were in shock. They were broke, stranded, and, for the first time, facing the consequences. I was alone. Truly alone. My family was gone. But the silence in the house, it wasn't the sad, lonely silence of a widow. It was the clean, quiet, peaceful silence of a balanced ledger. I turned off the phone. I made a pot of tea, the strong kind, and I sat. I'd like to tell you I slept. I didn't. But it wasn't a fearful, anxious sleeplessness. It was a vigilant one. I was a general. On the eve of a battle I knew I was going to win. I had the high ground. I had the ammunition. All I had to do was wait for the enemy to show themselves. They didn't make me wait long. At 7 a.m., as the sun was just starting to burn off the morning dew, my new video doorbell chimed. I looked at the little screen on my kitchen counter. It was Sharon. She didn't look like my daughter. Her hair was a mess, like she'd been pulling at it. Her eyes were red and puffy. She was wearing yesterday's clothes, a wrinkled, expensive-looking blouse and jeans. She was haggard. Good. She jabbed the doorbell again and again. I let her. For a good 30 seconds, I just watched her stab at the button, her face getting more and more twisted. Finally, I picked up the intercom. Yes? She jumped. Startled, she looked right at the camera, her eyes wide. Mom? Mom! Oh, God, let me in. Please, let me in. I don't think that's a good idea, Sharon, I said. My voice was clear and calm over the speaker. Mom, please, we need to talk. This is all a horrible misunderstanding. She was trying to cry, but after Kyle's performance, I was immune to crying. This was acting. I don't think there's been any misunderstanding at all. I think for the first time in 5 years, everything is perfectly clear. You have been stealing from me. You forged my name on a loan. You're a criminal, Sharon. No, she shrieked, and she actually banged on the door with her fist. You can't say that. It wasn't a loan. We were going to pay you back as soon as the club took off. The club? I said, sipping my tea. You mean the Gilded Lily? The one that's $500,000 in debt? The one your partners are suing you for? That club? Her face went white. chalk white. How did you? I told you. I'm a bookkeeper. I did an audit. On you.
And then the real her came out. The tears stopped instantly. Her face turned to stone. The same snippy, entitled, furious face from the phone call. "You old bitch," she hissed at the camera. "You're going to destroy us, your own family, over money? Money you were just going to sit on until you died?" "It wasn't your money, Sharon," I said, my voice as cold as her heart. "It was Frank's money. It was my money. And you didn't just borrow it, you stole it. You stole my house. You stole my memories." "So what?" she yelled. "What are you gonna do, huh? Send your own daughter to jail? You don't have the guts. You're just a sad, lonely old woman, and when this is over, you'll have nobody." "I already have nobody, Sharon," I said. "You and Rick and Kyle, you aren't family. You're a liability. And I'm just balancing the ledger. Now, I'd recommend you get off my porch. Detective Murphy has all of your information. I believe trespassing would just be another charge." She stared at the camera. I've never seen such pure, uncut hatred. It was chilling. She was my daughter, and she looked at me like I was something she'd scrape off her shoe. She said one last thing. "You'll regret this. You'll die alone." Then she turned, got into her fancy and, I assumed, leased SUV and sped off. I turned off the monitor. I went to the phone. I called Jim. I said, "She's here. She's angry." "Good," Jim's voice crackled. "Angry people make terrible legal decisions. The DA just called. They're filing the criminal charges: forgery, wire fraud, and grand larceny. The press is going to love it. Socialites defraud grandmother for failing nightclub. It's juicy. Oh dear. That will be embarrassing for them." "Yes," Jim said, and I could hear the smile in his voice. "It will. Now, Evelyn, the ball is in your court. We have them, civilly and criminally. What's the end game? What do you want?" I looked at the empty velvet box, the one that used to hold my necklace. "I want my jewelry back, and I want my house, and I want them gone." "We can do that," he said. "We can do all of that." The next 2 weeks were a blur of lawyers. It turned out when you are facing 10 to 15 years in federal prison for wire fraud, you become very cooperative. Rick and Sharon's fancy, high-priced Chicago lawyers, who, I found out later, they'd paid with the last of my HELOC money, were suddenly very eager to make a deal. Here is the deal Jim Henderson, my magnificent shark, put on the table. It was a masterpiece. First, the civil settlement. The house. They would sign a full immediate confession of judgment for the $50,000 fraudulent loan. The Chicago condo, the one they loved, would be sold immediately. The first $50,000 of the proceeds went directly to my bank to clear the HELOC. My house was mine again, free and clear. The jewelry. They would pay a one-time lump sum of $35,000. Not pay back. It was a fine. It was the full appraised replacement value of my necklace, plus the sentimental value of Frank's ring. This was non-negotiable. The rest, the $121,950, all the gifts, the ATM withdrawals, the casino money,
That was converted into a court-ordered judgment, a lien. It would follow them forever. They would pay me $1,000 a month, every month, for the next 10 years, with interest. The club, they would sign over their entire 100% stake in the Gilded Lily to me, to an LLC I owned, free and clear. This was the civil part. They signed. Their hands were shaking. They sold their condo. They drained every retirement account. They borrowed from friends who, I'm sure, they'll never pay back. They got the money. They signed the papers. But that was just my suit. They were still facing jail time. This is the part it's the part I think Frank would have been proud of. Rick, Sharon, and Kyle, who, by the way, had to panhandle at the Miami airport for 3 days to get a bus ticket home, stood in a courtroom. They all pled guilty to lesser charges: theft, conspiracy to commit fraud. The forgery charge, the really bad one, was held back. Why? Because I'd made a call. I'd asked the district attorney for leniency.
They're my family, I'd said. I don't want them in prison. Prison won't teach them anything. I want probation. A very, very long probation. And community service. A lot of community service. And restitution. The court ordered the repayment plan I'd already won. If they missed one $1,000 payment, just one, their probation would be revoked, and the forgery charge would be reinstated immediately. They got 5 years of probation each. Rick and Sharon were ordered to do 1,000 hours of community service each. Kyle got 500. I saw them in the courtroom. They wouldn't look at me. They looked broken, empty. Sharon had gray in her hair. Rick had lost 30 pounds. Kyle looked like a scared little boy. They were ruined. They weren't socialites anymore. They were convicted criminals. And now the part I know you've been waiting for, the revenge part, because it wasn't quite over. So, I now owned a failing nightclub in Atlantic City. What on earth was I going to do with that? Well, Jim's investigator, he had found out who Rick and Sharon's other partners were, the ones they were so deep in debt to. They weren't nice men. They weren't bank men. They were Atlantic City men, the kind of men who really don't like being stolen from. And my audit had been very thorough. I had found irregularities. It turned out Rick and Sharon hadn't just been stealing from me. They'd been skimming from everyone, from the bar, from the vendors, and from their partners. So, Jim and I, we made another deal. We met with these partners in a very smoky, very expensive restaurant. I slid my audit, my real set of books, across the table. I showed them, line by line, how their investment was being funneled into Rick's private accounts, how he was paying consulting fees to himself. They were not happy. The club is a mess, I said. I don't want it. I'm a grandmother from Ohio. But you gentlemen seem to know the business. I pushed another paper across. I will sell you my 100% stake, all of it.
One of them, a man with a diamond pinky ring, he just looked at me. For what? For $1, I said. And a promise that you'll take very good care of my accounts receivable. He smiled. It was not a nice smile. Ma'am, he said, taking the pen, it will be our pleasure. I walked out of that restaurant. I never heard from Rick or Sharon again. I don't know what happened to them. I just know that their debt was now being handled by people who don't use lawyers. And me? The next day, I went to see Arthur. He had been holding something for me. He'd bought my jewelry, yes, but he hadn't melted them down. He said he had a feeling. I bought them back, all of them, with the $35,000. I put Frank's ring on a chain. I wear it around my neck, with my necklace, close to my heart. The $1,000 checks, they arrive. Every month. On the 1st. Like clockwork. I don't keep the money. Goodness no. I endorse every single check, and I send it directly to the Frank Miller Carpentry Endowment at the local trade school. It's grown quite large. It's funding 3 full scholarships a year for young people who want to build things, not tear them down. My house is quiet again, but it's not an empty quiet. It's a peaceful one. I have friends. I'm on the board at the trade school. I'm not a victim. I'm not a lonely old woman. And I am certainly not an ATM. I am Evelyn Miller. I am a bookkeeper, and my books are balanced. So, that's my story. It's a lot, I know, but I have to ask you all, what would you have done if it were me?
My grandmother told me this story. Thanks for watching this video. Bye bye!